So when I was listening to you plan the lesson, you spend a lot of time about how to introduce the lesson to get students like really excited about talking about the problem. Can you talk about that a little?
Well, this was something that you
Yes.
brought up.
I think it's very important that the kids feel like that they get a chance to discuss like mathematicians. We're trying to teach mathematics. They should be what do mathematicians do? Well, they discuss interesting problems, and they argue back and forth to discuss what makes sense, and they find the pieces in the logic that they confront. So they find these misconceptions and confront them head on. That's the experience we want the children to have.
And that will be part of our introduction, is to ask them to think and discuss as mathematicians.
Yeah, and so I think like when we were discussing it, we were sort of talking about like when they're doing the procedures or working the problem, they're sort of like using about this much of their brain. But then when they go back in for that mathematician piece, that developing justification, they're sort of like using more of their brain, or sort of having a higher cognitive demand about how much of their brain is engaged in the activity. So we kind of want to look for that increased level of thinking.
I also want to say that I think that there's a difference when you take a task and you feel like it's sort of like a test. You're more concerned a little bit with right and wrong, and that's really different than thinking about the interests of this problem. Then much more of you is completely engaged in it.
Okay, great. So I know when you were developing this idea of re-engagement, you sort of added a piece where you had a follow-up to the re-engagement level where you added the red pens. Can you talk about the response of students to the use of the red pens, and even just kind of what that process is?
Well, at the end of the lesson, when we closed the lesson by telling the students that we're giving their teacher their original assessments back with red pens for them, the students to go back and edit their work. And that anything that they've learned and that from our lesson today, they can add and make changes and improve their work. Assessments haven't been scored, so they, as far as they're concerned, we hadn't even looked at them. But
yes, that's what I was saying.
Well, sort of what I remember was like when they wrote their little notes back to you, a lot of the students said how nice it was to get a chance to go back and fix their work, and how much they really enjoyed the opportunity to like change their answers and show, you know, new things that they knew.
Yes, they showed a lot of appreciation for that
that's true.
experience.